My goal was to change his life, but to my surprise, he changed mine. Have you ever been walking through life thinking you know what you're doing? Then bam, a brick wall. You run right into it. You're stopped dead in your tracks, trying to figure out what just hit you. This is the point in my life when I was a single mom who had been working at my daughter's school as the assistant to the art teacher. I had been coming to the realization that it was time for a job that paid enough to actually live on, because teacher assistants don't make a lot. Now, if I could pay my bills with hugs, I would have been fine. However, the bank doesn't accept hugs in lieu of cash. It was time to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. As an art teaching assistant at an elementary school, many wonderful kids had come into my life. I love kids. My goal as an art assistant was to be a part of change for the better in each and every student's life. I wanted to encourage, empower, and equip each and every one of them to be the best they could be. So, when I met, we will call him David, I applied the same mindset. David was a new student. He was a sweet, quiet young man in the second grade. He had a soft voice and gentle personality. So, when we were told he was dealing with issues of self-harm, it was quite surprising. My heart was very sad. We made certain to be sure he was comfortable. Then came the day I will never forget. The teacher had just finished giving instructions, and all the kids were hard at work, except him. He sat there looking at his paper, flicking his pencil, hanging his head in defeat before he had even gotten started. I wanted to encourage him. "Hey, buddy, why aren't you working on your project?" I asked him. "I can't do this," was his reply. What? You did not just say can't, I thought to myself. There is no can't in art. I pulled up a chair and sat down beside him. It was time to empower him. We began by reviewing the steps of the project, one by one. I encouraged him with a small example and ended by telling him I knew he could do it and that there was no such thing as can't in art. He looked at me almost as if he believed me and slowly started to work. I was determined to help equip him toward success. I went about my classroom duties, glancing at him every so often. Toward the end of class, I heard him calling for me. His whole defeated demeanor had changed. He was excited. I walked over and looked him in the eyes. His smile was so wide it spread across his whole face. He was oozing confidence. Look at what I did," he exclaimed. He ever so proudly presented his masterpiece. It was brilliant. Well, I might be a little biased. But what was even better was how he beamed with pride and confidence. He had conquered his fear of failure. From that day on, he was a completely different art student. He was changed. I was so happy and humbled to be a part of that experience with David. His small success had overcome that huge fear of failure in his mind. It was at that exact moment, that day, that I knew it. That was it. I was supposed to be an art teacher when I grew up, and it was time to grow up. I wasn't sure where to start or even what it would take to get a teaching degree, but I knew this was my path. After much prayer and wisdom shared with me by friends, I was led to this university. At almost 50 years old, I am studying to be an art teacher. This has been an awesome, challenging, and scary journey. I'm facing my fears, just like David. Now there is no can't in art or college. My life is so full. It is full of wonderful new friends I will cherish forever and crazy new adventures. I have made art in genres I never dreamed I would try. Some of my art is good, and some of it, well, let's just say, I still have a lot to learn. but I continue to try. I have grown and learned so much. Whenever I get tired or question why I'm doing this, I think of David. I go back to that day. I see that smile. I have found my calling, and it is to invest in kids. If I can just be a small part in encouraging, empowering, and equipping children to succeed, I will be quite happy. However, there is another important lesson I learned from all of this. I learned that we all have the power to change lives. It doesn't matter who you are, your age, your gender, your race, or your ability. What matters is that we all have a story to tell. And through sharing that story, others can experience change for the better as well. My goal was to change his life, but to my surprise, he changed mine, and I am forever grateful. Thank you.